It's been perhaps the most turbulent year in Turkey's modern history. From an attempted coup, to a wave of terror attacks, to conflict with the Kurdish minority. This is the story of a traumatic 12 months. The backdrop has been the insurgency in the southeast. Since a ceasefire broke down with the PKK Kurdish militants, there's been tit-for-tat violence. The PKK have blown up soldiers and police. The state has attacked and imposed curfews. 2,500 have died, including civilians, and 500,000 are displaced. Melek Ilbarstan's sister, Esma, fought with the PKK and was killed. Her body was retrieved after 6 months.
She faced discrimination for being the other and a Kurd, and she saw the massacres of last year. That's how she emerged as a fighter. We don't care if the government calls her a terrorist. It's state terrorism against the people. We've found people burnt alive in basements and bodies abandoned for weeks. This regime has blood on its hands.
Kurdish militants and so-called Islamic State have bombed across the country this year, IS behind the Istanbul airport attack in June. 360 people have died in 22 terror attacks this year, the latest this month by Kurdish militants killing more than 40 people outside Beşiktaş football stadium in Istanbul. Tunç Uncu was among them. A lifelong Beşiktaş fan, he worked at the stadium. His mother called him a rosebud.
When I got the news, I collapsed. When they showed me his body at the hospital, I kissed him and then we buried him. May God spare everyone else this pain. May there be peace for Turkey and no more bloodshed.
The defining moment of the year came in July. Rebel soldiers bombed parliament and drove tanks into civilians in an attempted coup. It failed, but at least 265 people were killed. Tens of thousands were arrested and dismissed, charged with links to the plotters. Lawyer Fatih Canbay went out that night to resist the coup. He's since represented some of those caught up in the purge.
The coup attempt was shocking. We couldn't tolerate it. It was like something precious was being forcefully taken away from us. If the coup had succeeded, it would have been far worse. But I have friends in prison who had nothing to do with it. There was an attempt to steal our lives that night, but while on a smaller scale, we are facing a similar attempt now.
So what of the mood here? This is a defiant nation, but an anxious and divided one too. And as President Erdogan tries to enhance his powers next year through constitutional change, that could deepen political polarization. 2017 could be a year in which Turkey lurches between yet more crises. Mark Lowen, BBC News, Istanbul.